Mark online? No, not yet. Yep, so we'll flick back to public forum once Mark gets here. So next we have a deputation from the Cancer Society of New Zealand on our item on the smoke-free 2025 implementation plan. So if you could, that's it, presentations up on the screen. Bridget, are you able to just flick your video off briefly while the Cancer Society put theirs on? Because they had theirs on earlier. Are they still there? Yep, there we go. Oh, just like that. Fantastic, welcome. Welcome online to talk to us today. You'll know that with deputations that you've got 10 minutes to speak to us, and that includes any question time.
Ko hikarangi toku maanga, ko wāku toku awa, ko harauta toku waka, ko hine maurie toku marae, ko wharikahika toku hapu, ko Ngāti Porou toku iwi, ko Teresa Butler toku ingoa. Kia ora mana wahine toa, Mayor Leanne Dalzell and councillors. My name is Teresa Butler, smoke-free support practitioner for Te Pō Waitanga ki Ototahi Trust and Te Hā Waitaka. I'm also a member of the Ototahi Māori Women's Welfare. I'm from the Cancer Society to support the Smoke-Free Action Plan Progress Report on the agenda here today. As Smoke-Free members, to acknowledge our partnership with the Christchurch and that this. I would like to introduce our latest piece of smoke-free advocacy, our Smoke-Free Community Voices film. As a stop smoking practitioner, I see the harm caused by tobacco on a daily basis. Smoking is not done. People are still taking up smoking and are still addicted and free. We wanted to encourage some community members to share their feelings on tobacco with decision makers as the government moves closer to achieving smoke-free Aotearoa action plan. I'm one of the stories featured alongside other heartfelt stories. Please play the film.
I've been smoking since I was about 11 years old.
Probably we'll say age 13, 14.
I started smoking when I was 21.
I was with my peer grouping and somebody was smoking and they offered me one. Something as simple as that.
My mother and father both smoked.
That 11-year-old child in me had no idea that that would become a lifestyle.
They've asked me lots to stop. Yeah. And I have tried.
The number of times that they have actually, asked us to, my husband and I, to give up smoking, that if we loved them we would not smoke. Yeah.
It does hit you home when your own son sees you with a cigarette and the words that come out of his mouth was, "You're going to die, Dad."
He was about three years old at a crash, and I went to pick him up after crash, and then the teacher there was saying, "Oh look, Teresa, he's we got all the kids to draw a picture of what their mum does during the day." Here's me sitting outside with the phone, me talking on the phone with the smoke. And that's what he drew to his teachers. I thought, that's what my son sees. That's what his mum does all day, yeah. But that didn't stop me from smoking, though. And that's what gets to me, is that it didn't stop me.
I'm asthmatic. All my children are asthmatic. I have a heart condition, which I've been waiting for a year to have surgery. And they won't do it unless I'm smoke-free.
I'm finding it difficult to breathe now, and I've also got like other health complications.
I've gone days without food just to have that cigarette?
I have nursed loved ones dying of cancer and helped bury lots of loved ones.
This is Mum, Frances Mamai Werehiko Butler, and here she is 72, and she's with my daughter. This is Taika. So she had COPD for 10 years, and then on her death certificate here, it says cause of death, and it's tobacco smoking, 50 plus years. So tobacco took her life.
Dad gave up when he was about 45. He saw a set of black lungs on the tally and threw them in the fire and never went back. And Mum couldn't get off it, and I lost her because of it.
I watched my mother look after my sister's kids, and being at their rugby games, netball, all of these milestones. My mother will never do that with my daughter. She'll never do that with her.
I don't think cigarettes should be available in places like dairies, service stations. I mean, you can't buy alcohol from a dairy, from that corner dairy. So why should you be able to buy a product like that? That is deadly, that's being sold next to your lollies.
Those ones that are coming through that are soon to be turning 18, it'd be wonderful if they could never purchase cigarettes in their lifetime.
It would be amazing to not have access to cigarettes for 18-year-olds and less.
Our people, our youngsters, ought never be able to buy cigarettes. And the only way that can happen is that if it's not there on the market. You take them out of those shops, you take them out of those garages, you take tobacco out of this country.
I want the sales of tobacco stopped immediately, because what I see in the community can't change unless you stop it.
More people are going to die by 2025, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, get it done now.
It's killing our whakapapa. It's killing our wairu. It's killing everything that we are as in Te Ao Māori. We need to take it out of the shops, stop it straight away, and get rid of it as soon as possible.
We should stop selling cigarettes. Let us be examples, because I wasn't. And I think we should make that change for our kids.
So this is the aroha of our mahi in smoke-free. This is why we do the mahi we do, to bring about smoke-free change. I'll now hand it over to Amanda to talk about what comes next. Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou katoa, councillors. As Teresa said earlier, we have had good gains in smoking rates and reductions. However, smoking is still not done in New Zealand. It remains a major cause of death and disease, and smoking actually still drives health inequity. Smoking in Maori and Pacific communities higher than that for the overall population. We should not forget also that it's been 10 years since the Maori Affairs Select Committee into the tobacco industry, and a lot of the recommendations from that report have not yet been progressed. Next slide, please. In April, the government put out a discussion paper outlining proposals for a smoke-free Aotearoa 2025 action plan. The proposals included a number of really bold policy options, and while Smoke-Free Canterbury is supportive of all of the measures in the proposals, we actually think the key priorities are measures to strengthen the tobacco control system and increase Māori governance, to make smoked tobacco products less available and reduce tobacco availability in our communities, and to make tobacco less addictive and appealing, reducing nicotine levels in smoked tobacco products. One area we did feel missing in the proposals was a commitment to smoke-free outdoor environments. And of course, this is where our local councils are leaders and do great work. And we would urge all councils to continue to advocate for this to be included in the smoke-free action plan proposals as the consultation progresses. Over to Teresa.
We acknowledge that Council are instrumental in smoke-free advocacy, and our smoke-free collaboration over the years is testimony to this. We expect a smoke-free action plan to be released sometime in November, December, with legislation consulted on and submission of 22. Strongly encourage Christchurch City Council to be part of that consultation going forward, and we look forward to working with the council, youth networks and community boards to support the smoke-free action plan over the next few months. As Dave has said, more people are going to die by 2025. Let's get it done now. Amanda and I would welcome any questions. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you so much for that. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the 10 minutes, but I think it's probably time for one question if there is one. No, the information was really comprehensive and the video was really good. So thanks so much for taking the time to show us that and to talk to us. And we'll be considering that paper shortly. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Kia ora.
Ka kite.
Ka kite.
Ka kite. And kia ora, next we have Bridget Williams. So welcome, Bridget. You've done this before.
Yeah. So tēnā koutou katoa, ko Bridget toka ingoa no o te tahi ahau. He kai mahi ahau i te kamupene o Bed and Proceed, he mihi mai o ha kia koutou katoa. So kia ora everyone, my name is Bridget Williams. I'm from Christchurch, Botatahi, and I lead a social enterprise called Bed and Proceed. Now, I might have my colleague Selena join us soon, but I know that she has also got another meeting at the same time. But before I get started, I just want to highlight that today I'm speaking in my capacity as founder of Bed and Proceed, not as chair of the Whenua Māori Hewa Community Board. But if we can go to the next slide, that'd be great. Because you probably want to know, what is Bed and Proceed? What do we do? So we are a social enterprise that exists to educate Aotearoa and beyond on the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals and to inspire action towards them through creativity. And the way we do that is started off as a really simple idea by bringing people together to each make and paint a 5-beaded necklace, bracelet or keyring in the top 5 Sustainable Development Goals that they care about personally. And since launching in 2019, we now offer a range of different workshops, both physical and virtual. We do a range of creative activities and experiences, and also offer ongoing sustainable development consulting. So with that, we can go to the next slide. The Sustainable Development Goals, here they are in all their colourful glory. And I understand that on the table today is the opportunity for Council to sign the declaration for the goals. So this framework goes by many different names, such as the People's Goals, the Global Goals, the Moonshot Goals, and the lovable acronym SDGs. So I'm going to be using the acronym going forward, the SDGs. So what makes this framework so special is 3 things, and I'm going to be highlighting what those 3 things are and why, if Council didn't take the opportunity to sign the declaration, it would not only does it make sense to do that, but it would also be a missed opportunity. So the first thing is that this framework, it speaks an international language. So all 193 UN member states, including New Zealand, adopted the SDGs back in 2015. And so this makes this framework the largest framework globally for sustainability, right? And that's really important if Otatahi Christchurch wants to be in that international spotlight, using the relevant language that other states around the world are using around how to measure its sustainable impact. It's this framework. It speaks that international language. Now the other slide, next one, awesome. So the second thing about what makes this framework so special is it looks at sustainability in all its forms, economic, social, and environmental. And for so long, we've normally been focusing on just environmental issues, but now we're seeing how interconnected these issues are, which makes this framework really special because it's relevant to every industry, as every industry impacts these three areas, especially council portfolios. And it also means this framework isn't polarizing. We can care about economic issues, we can care about the environment or social issues, because we now see that these three issues are interconnected. And for the next slide, we're also seeing how interconnected this framework is again. So this is a beautiful illustration of how our biosphere, our environment, our society, and our economy are all interconnected, and the relevant SDGs within this SDG cake diagram. And now what keeps this cake's shape, the icing, if you will, between each layer of cake is SDG 17, partnerships for the goals. Now, some believe this is the least important SDG. Others, such as myself, believe this is the most important SDG. It's about collaboration. It is about being an advocate for this framework, championing this framework. And that's what signing the declaration today will help achieve and help ensure that that happens. So with the next slide, the question is, what role does local government have to play towards the SDGs? Well, it turns out you've got a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. So moving to the next slide, a whole report has been done on it. This report was put together by the United Cities and Local Governments, and it's actually this report and this organisation that really advocated for SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, to make it to the 17 SDGs. This is about making our cities and human settlements inclusive, resilient and sustainable, a huge part of what Christchurch City Council does. And in the next slide, it actually takes out an exact quote about what the role of local government has. So all of the SDGs have targets that are directly or indirectly related to the daily work of local and regional governments. Local governments should not be seen as mere implementers of the agenda. Local governments are policymakers, catalysts of change, and the level of government best placed to link the global goals with local communities. So local government, aka our council, has a massive part to play towards championing the SDGs, and signing the declaration today would be a great way to achieve that. And the next slide, we'll actually see some examples of what New Zealand is already doing. So we're seeing different councils championing the SDGs in their own way. We've got the Waikato Wellbeing Project, where they are weaving all of the SDGs through this wonderful campaign. We're also seeing different councils putting on events for the public to educate its citizens and residents on what the SDGs are, such as the Palmerston North City Council. We're also seeing the Sustainable Development Goals weaved through the Auckland Plan for 2050. We're seeing our own Christchurch NZ weave the SDGs through its strategy as well. The overarching, lens that they look at is the SDGs when they're considering decisions and making strategic decisions. We've just recently had our own SDG National Summit in our backyard. And of course, there is also the recent report put together by the Auditor General, the government's preparedness to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. And three really key things came out of that document. The first is there needs to be more clarity around what government is doing towards the SDGs. The second is there needs to be more effective measures around the targets and indicators. And the third is the importance for there to be a growing awareness for stakeholders and the wider community. So it's really only a matter of time until the SDGs grow in importance. And I would like to see Otatahi Christchurch take that opportunity to be a leader rather than a follower. And moving on to the next slide. We're also seeing that there are a range of frameworks. I know what you might be thinking, great, another framework. But the thing is, I go back to that point around this being the international framework. So we've got the Living Standards Framework, the 4 Wellbeings, and what we're now seeing is through indicators Aotearoa, they are now aligning the SDGs to the 4 Wellbeings Framework. So the SDGs are actually being used to help report and measure on these other frameworks. So they are interconnected. And moving on to the next slide. we'll see that we need more champions than ever. So according to the latest information, this is how Aotearoa New Zealand is tracking. This information is put together by the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. And you'll see that we're on track to achieving affordable and clean energy, but we still have 4 major challenges for us to look at. So we've got climate action, life on land, partnerships for the goals, which is such a shame, and of course, responsible consumption and production. And we're still going backwards on life on land. And when you see how is Aotearoa tracking globally, we're currently sitting at number 23 on the SDG Global Rank. The year before that, we were at number 16. And the year before that, we were at number 11. It's not necessarily that we're going backwards. Other states are doing well as well, but I would love to see Aotearoa be in that top 3 spot. And it just makes sense that Ōtautahi leads by that example. And the really sad thing is no state is on track to achieving all 17 SDGs by the 2030 deadline, which means we need more champions than ever. And moving on to the next slide. That is why I left my law job to paint beads for a living. But in all seriousness, it's because we actually want to really help push this framework, grow awareness, and we go into different businesses and organizations to help businesses connect with the SDGs personally, help align to them, to the relevant goals and the relevant targets. And what's really exciting is we are already working with other councils. So we've already worked with the Taurua District Council, the Palmerston North City Council. We're soon to be working with the Otago Regional Council and also Auckland Transport. So if Christchurch City Council wants a workshop, then that would be great. But really it's about helping to grow that awareness and have Ōtautahi be a city that leads by example. We have gone through so much as a community, and in the Decade of Action, which started in 2020, we just had the 6th anniversary of the SDGs back on the 25th of September. We need more champions than ever. So I would like to say a huge thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you all today, and I hope that the decision you make today around the declaration of the SDGs is the correct one, so we can create the world we want by 2030. Thank you so much. Happy to take any questions.
Kia ora, Bridget. You might be aware that you've used up your 10 minutes perfectly. But like the last one, I will leave space for one question if someone has one. So the Mayor's got a question.
I just was really keen for your take on the importance of cities signing up to these. These are all parts of international agreements and covenants and commitments, and what's the significance of a city signing up?
So, I would say that it obviously speaks volumes. It's about not only building the awareness of its residents and its community to say, wow, this is a city that is not only championing the goals, but determined to actually take action towards it. So it's setting that great example, and we need to build awareness. I mean, as you would have seen in the slideshow I showed you before, we're going backwards on some of these goals. And so we really need to have people leading, not just people, but organizations leading by example. So the significance of a city making the stand to champion this framework would speak volumes. It would help raise the awareness. And once again, it would also be a way to help get us on that international spotlight. We've already been in that spotlight with some of the horrific events we've been through. So it just makes sense. And it would be a natural step for us to adopt this SDG framework further, because it's so connected to what we've been through and to what we're trying to champion as a council anyway. So it would be a missed opportunity.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Very quick.
The dashboard that you've got on your second to last slide. Regarding the dashboard that you've got on the second to last slide, who compiles that and arrives at those numbers? And
Yeah. So it's put together by the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and that organisation takes publicly available information. It's so things like the census, World Bank, World Health Organization, that sort of thing. What they aren't in communication with Aotearoa Statistics, but if you went along to the SDG Summit that Christchurch hosted, you would know that they're wanting to take the opportunity to talk to that organisation so they can share that data. So it's captured by publicly available information, but yeah, put together by the Sustainable Development Solutions Network.
That's fantastic. That's an international.
Yeah, international. So within they release a report every July to see how each state is tracking.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is they also look at the information on the spillover effect as well. So like, what is the effect of Aotearoa New Zealand championing working towards the SDGs? What is the effect that it has towards other states?
Yep, no,
so
that's great. Thanks, Bridget. I was actually looking at measure number 6. I found that really interesting. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bridget.
That's all right. Thank you, team. Make the right decision.
Kia ora, thank you. So we've got no presentation of petitions today, and we're going to move. Yeah, I've sent it now. Going to move to